Many look at Memorial Day as the unofficial start of summer, which means it's time to bring out the swimsuits and shorts. But how can you make sure you aren't obsessing over the perfect summer body in a harmful way? Joining us now to discuss is the site director at the Renfrew Center for Eating Disorders, Rebecca Gonley. Welcome.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you for having me.
Rebecca, what is it about summer that adds an extra layer for stress for people and their bodies?
Yeah, so summer brings vacations, pool parties, cookouts, lots of time outside. And with that comes clothing that's more exposing to our bodies, like shorts, bathing suits, even bikinis. And there is a perceived pressure around this season since our bodies are exposed and we're more conscious about how they might look and how they're being perceived by other people.
And walk us through how social media impacts people with body anxiety.
Yeah, so social media can present an array of challenges for individuals with body anxieties. We know through research that there's a continuous pattern of self-comparison on these social media apps. They place a huge emphasis on body image being connected to a person's personal value, whereas when we look on social media, so much of that content is not always a representation of people's real lives, real bodies, and real situations. That can be dangerous for folks with pre-existing body anxieties or even eating disorders, since we know that if that's not real, right, that can be hard to live up to. We also know dieting is one of the leading risk factors to developing an eating disorder that sticks around way past that summer season.
And what are some tips to combat that body anxiety?
Yeah, so some three general tips would be: one, practicing some social media literacy. That means rating those content creators that don't make you feel good or are glorifying the diet culture. Next, nourishing our body and soul. So that means listening to our body's cues. Practice a mindfulness technique like deep breathing so you can assess if you might need a break or if it's something that you'd like to do this summer. And lastly, ask for help if you need it. So if you find yourself struggling with body image this summer, reach out to a support or a mental health professional.
And what resources are available to help people, let go of these societal pressures to look bikini ready?
Yeah, so there's a lot of resources out there, but you can go to the Renfrew Center on Instagram. We have a lot of helpful tips and tricks for connecting with yourself or even some new self-care activities for the summer season. And if you feel like you're struggling with an eating disorder or body image, you can give us a call at 1-800-RENFREW or visit our website at renfrewcenter.com for more resources.
And Rebecca, I think a lot of times we see young people, have this body anxiety, and I think a lot of parents are watching and maybe wondering, what are some of the signs where, let's say, your teen is, maybe having major problems with body anxiety? What signs should we look for where we might need to get professional help?
Yeah, so some really good signs to look for is one, an increase in isolation. Is your child maybe, avoiding social events that involve food or, maybe, going into their room more and doing, like things a little bit more isolated. Another thing to look at is like, are there any like foods that your kid is avoiding that they'd normally eat like in past holidays, right? So like if hot dogs and hamburgers are something they'd normally have and maybe that's something they're avoiding, that's another thing to look for.
All right, Rebecca, thank you so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it.
Of course, thanks for having me.